What's going on, everybody? This video is about why seeing the negative might actually be more important than actually seeing, the positive. We as a society and as the media likes to, see only the negative, of course. Well, not only the negative, but mostly the negative. I'll go into that later, but most of us as a society tend to only want to see the positive side of things. But the problem is that doing this makes sure there's no growth at all. Because what you're not aware of, you cannot change. I'll repeat that again. What you are not aware of, you cannot change. So, this is why looking at the negative is important. Of course, there's looking too much into the negative to the point where you're looking only surface level without looking deeper at the why of things or the how of things, or thinking deeply about these things, or anything like I've talked about in any of my 2 channels or in my podcast. This is part of the problem that we have. Most of society doesn't want to go deep because it doesn't want to look at these issues, because most people are either concerned with keeping the status quo in place, or their own self-interest. And there's nothing wrong with this necessarily, actually, but to be honest, it would actually be in their best self-interest to look at these things, the unpleasant things, the dark things, to figure out why these things are happening. And I've talked about this before when it comes to, your inner life, your inner mind. And I think this is true too. Look at your inner self. What's causing this negative, so-called negative or bad thing. You look at deeply into think deeply upon it. Read about how these things work, how your mind works, and stuff like that. I think that's important too, because this gives you a broader perspective on how these problems persist throughout time. Because a lot of negativity, so-called negativity, and a lot of bad, so-called bad things that happen. A lot of it starts with a lack of awareness, a lack of a broad perspective, a lack of a nuanced perspective, and a lack of a different way of looking at things. Because most people think that, there's only one, particular way you have to be, conservative, liberal, libertarian. I say no. I want to be whatever I want to be. And I want to take all these different good ideas and put them all together and make something great. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what we all should be trying to do. But sometimes in order to do that, you have to look at the negative. Because if you don't look at the negative, there will be no growth at all, really. I mean, there will be growth, don't get me wrong, but it won't be a very significant amount of growth. Of course, there is balance there. Like I said, you can look too deeply into the negative and get caught up in it. But it's, as Conversations with God says, you have to be in the world, but not of it. Basically, what this means is that you have to be involved in the world, or be a part of the world, but not become engrossed in the illusion of the world. That's not always an easy thing to do. And that's why it's important to look at these things. Now, I'm going to give you an example of how this can be done. This is an outer example. Violence. Why is violence occurring? What are the underlying motivations behind violence? And it's usually there's a bunch of different reasons, but And you don't have to like ask violent people why they do it. You can do it by looking inside, searching your inner wisdom. For more information on that, you can search for my video, how to find your own truth. It's something I playlist practical tips for everyday life, I believe. But yeah, that's one way of looking at it, and then you can ask, well, how do you fix this type of problem? And you can look at from the same higher depth of wisdom. You can always use the message technique too. Basically, this means, what is the message that this could show me? What are the different messages that this could show me? Because the truth is that there's always a message, if not more than like 1 or 2 or 3 messages hidden within something that you're looking at. So that could be another way of looking at things and looking at it and saying, well, how do I apply this message? And like I said, looking at this deeper fountain of wisdom, and that's how you can sort of build upon the puzzle pieces. And a good illustration of this too is that our job isn't necessarily to get all the pieces together, and that's it. That's the final. That's the only way that things must be, or that's the final way that things should be for us. And nothing else. No, from that point you move, you expand further out, and you evolve. That's what evolution is. You get more and more puzzle pieces, and you space them out so you don't become rigid. Basically, you use these insights not to create rules, but to create guidelines. And these guidelines can come from the inner fountain of wisdom. And you can use your fountain of wisdom to ask, how do I use this guideline? How do I use this in everyday life? And just kind of like work within this mode of understanding and being. And this is conscious living. This is like what self-creation is. This is just a part of what self-creation is, but it's just one part. So there's a lot more that could be said about that, but I'll just leave it there for now. I'll see you in the next video. This is the Wisdom Matrix, and if you like this video, please like it, share it, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next video. I don't know. We'll see what it's going to be. I was thinking of doing a couple of different things, so we'll see what happens.